Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name's Candice Marie. Thank you guys for joining me. Happy Thursday. Back at it with yet another video, and in this episode we're going to be taking a look at Saturn getting ready to go direct in the sign of Pisces. If you guys like my content, you want to see more, subscribe to the channel, click that bell button below. I'm here on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays trying to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. Just want to remind everybody that we have a Black Friday sale on my website. All of my courses are on sale. We do the biggest sale of the year, taking place now through December 5th, 2025. So just in time for this full moon, especially if you guys want to get your learning on. My Beginner's Astro Course 101, my 201, where I teach you all about the tricks of predicting transits. We've also got sales where you get 6 months free on my 12-month predictions for the personal calendars that go right into your digital iPhone or your Google calendars. We're giving you buy 12 months, get 6 months free. I am going to be teaching my Astro 301 advanced astrological techniques to help you guys get all the necessary skills to be a full-time working professional astrologer. We're offering an early bird special, so if you guys sign up before December 5th of this year, you get $200 off. Spaces are limited. We're limiting how many students we're going to take. So click the links in the description below if you guys want to sign up for that course. It's going to be beginning at the end of January 2026. Well, guys, November 27th, 2025, that is the big day. This is going to be the last kind of chapter for Saturn in this sign. And this means that we are closing profound spiritual chapters in this lifetime, right? Pisces is all about completion. Saturn is the Lord of Karma, and Saturn stationing direct in Pisces means that this is a very big move forward. Now, I'm going to break down in this video all of the themes of this transit, how to work with it, what to expect, as well as predictions for the 12 rising signs. But yeah, I'm really excited to get into it. I find it really fascinating that this is at the same degree where we also had the September 2024 lunar eclipse in Pisces. So you guys are going to put on your thinking caps and think about what happened last fall. But likely this is going to be the moment that the fog begins to lift and our spiritual maturity becomes more permanent. Now in astrology, Saturn represents karma as well as time, elders. It's also about boundaries and discipline. Obviously, Saturn teaches us mastery through restriction. He can be a great teacher, and it's this kind of crystallization of whatever survives the test. So pull out your chart, take a look at Pisces, hone in on which house Pisces is. That's where you've been going through the karmic ringer with not only Saturn there, but Neptune and the North Node. We have been working through this collective fog since the fall of last year. Now, Pisces, on the other hand, mutable water, obviously ruled by Jupiter and Neptune, is connected to the 12th sign of the Zodiac. So it does deal with closure, completion, releasing emotions, but it also deals with topics like the ocean, collective unconsciousness, spirituality, art, and film. It's also tied to music, hospitals, prisons, and addiction or mental health themes, psychedelics, dreams, sacrifice, compassion, hidden enemies, and of course, endings. So as a recap, if you guys have been following along, I've had videos all over the channel for years now, so we definitely did a preview before Saturn went into Pisces. We've kind of talked about the Saturn retrograde periods, and Saturn has been moving through this sign since March of 2023, and that was the first time that Saturn had entered that sign in 29 years. Now, what this basically meant when, in March of 2023, when Saturn moved into this sign, it was this instant global mental health crisis. It's definitely been a theme. Major crisis revolving around international borders, immigration. We have seen the rise of psychedelic therapy, obviously some major church scandals, and questioning and wondering what's going on. Where are the adults in the room? Where is leadership? So then from 2023 to 2024, we have seen topics relating to exposés on obviously spiritual gurus, where there's been charity fraud or misappropriation of funds from the pandemic. We have also seen major issues revolving around the prison systems. And that's just been a continuation of things that have been kind of evolving. And then on September 17th, 2024, we saw a partial lunar eclipse at 25 degrees of Pisces the same degree that Saturn is going to be going direct at now. Now, that was the first eclipse that was going to be a part of the new nodal shifts that happened in 2025. So it was almost like a peek behind the curtain for some of the things that we were going to be dealing with in 2025. And briefly, we saw this year Saturn leave Pisces and kind of tiptoe into Aries. Neptune did the same thing. We saw Saturn move into Aries, and then it actually stationed retrograde back at the end of May of 2025, and it returned back to Pisces. And now on the 27th, we are going to see Saturn go direct and the final chapter begins. So this is a storyline that's been kind of connected to all the way at the beginning of 2023. Now, Saturn goes retrograde like all of the other planets. Obviously, it takes time to kind of wrap things up and really kind of commit ourselves and mature and grow up. And it has not been easy in this sign because Pisces can sometimes deal with those illusions, those blockages, crisis of faith, self-sabotaging behavior, and quite frankly, we're just afraid to get out of bed and deal with the day. Now, it's interesting also that the 25 degrees of Pisces, this particular decan, is traditionally ruled by the moon. So this is the later degrees, obviously 2025. So the connection here is the moon, but also in traditional, astrology, it has an association with Jupiter. So the things that have been holding us back, now we're ready to kind of face them, kind of grow up and mature, and now we can release for some kind of spiritual or emotional healing. So it's got a very Cancerian vibe to it. This is the most emotional and nurturing and kind of protective slice of Pisces, basically. With Saturn in this degree, it means that, new boundaries that we are building are not necessarily cold or harsh. They're more, protecting what we feel we need to nurture. There is this very maternal instinct, and it is also connected to our soul family ties. Obviously, Pisces deals with past life, so we could be kind of clearing up some past life karma here. And the discipline kind of feels like a loving parent to me, finally saying like enough, instead of like a strict kind of harsh teacher. It's like saying, okay, here's the boundary. We can't cross it anymore. And this is why that Jupiter in Cancer trine is, I think, so perfectly timed. The decan and the trine are signaling some of the same kind of emotional kind of themes. Now that eclipse echo from 2024 at the same degree, I think is really also highlighting that we have to dissolve illusions, and we also have to kind of end where we're too sympathetic or too sensitive. We're not really kind of grounding our energies and taking time to be aware of where everything going on collectively is hitting us, and it's kind of sticking onto our auric field. So some of us have been practicing empathy or compassion to the point where it's toxic, or it has been actually doing ourselves a disfavor. And obviously Saturn turning direct here is kind of signaling that karmic completion. So it's almost like the ending or releasing something actually signifies that there's about to be a rebirth. Now, Jupiter is traditionally associated with Pisces, and this is the dispositor of Saturn. And so not only do we see them in a trine, once we start getting into December, we're going to start losing that trine because Jupiter is retrograde in Cancer. Saturn's going to be moving forward. But I feel like this is really that trine forms a very tight and loving kind of water energy. And that's going to be kind of hanging out till about the end of December. Obviously feels very protective. It can also be for many of us where we are dealing with some ancestral healing and we're cradling almost every boundary that's now being set. So it's not just what's happening in the Pisces area of the chart. It's also the direct trines to Cancer, and also some of the trines that we're seeing as Mercury is wrapping up and Venus is wrapping up its tour in Scorpio. So we see a return of end of October into November's grand water trine. Now, when I think about Saturn getting ready to leave this sign, it's really interesting because Neptune is going to follow. You'll see at the beginning of 2026, Saturn's going to go back into Aries, Neptune's going to go back into Aries, and Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, cardinal fire. So it's about action, new things, being motivated, being pioneering, being strong. And Saturn is basically telling us to kind of pick ourselves up by the bootstraps, even though it feels heavy. Part of the lessons, I think, of Saturn and Pisces is that the things that we don't take action on actually come back to kind of bite us in the butt and brings up some kind of emotional or karmic burdens. But also it's about not identifying or feeling victimized by circumstances. Now, I know a lot of you guys have been commenting on the videos. You've been saying, hey, this is too much water. I feel like I'm drowning. I hear you. But this is an important time as Saturn is stationing direct to really watch where we're taking the Pisces area of our chart seriously. So personally, I would say for some of you guys who have maybe had some creative projects that have been frozen or not flowing since 2023, they may now finally launch. We may also find that some of us are having some real breakthroughs when it comes to vulnerability, our home or our family situations. We can also have some breakthroughs in therapy that helps us kind of recognize and realize where we have to have better emotional boundaries. And it's helping us really stand up for ourselves and have a more mature kind of identity. And it may also be about committing or gracefully leaving a spiritual path or a spiritual teacher. So some people might say, well, I'm, no longer practicing this religion, or we're not going to church, or, hey, I think I'm done, with this yoga group, it feels kind of culty, or maybe I'm, shifting into a new belief system. We can also see that those who have been struggling with chronic health issues or addiction issues may now find some long-term management. We might see that there's new, medical treatments or pharmaceutical treatments that are coming online in regards to that. And certainly themes revolving around regulation and where there's been some oversights of any medications that can be harmful to our mental health, but also reproductive health with Scorpio trines, and anything that deals with like women and like hormonal issues can also be a theme here as well. Now, obviously, psychic abilities become very strong because of Jupiter trine Saturn, but also with Saturn direct, we might feel like these kind of visions that we have or feelings that we have now start to stabilize, and we're able to recognize what's real and what's not and get more serious when it comes to our visions for the future, our meditation practice, or even our dreams. And instead of them feeling overwhelming, we now start to feel more confident in making decisions, listening to our gut, and moving forward. But the boundaries that we practice in private are now supposed to be held up in public. So we have to walk the walk and talk the talk. Globally, I feel like I'm hoping that there is going to be a little bit more, or I guess better leadership or clarity revolving around leadership out in the world. I think that this can be about where we're starting to solve global issues revolving around, housing problems, homelessness, mental health crisis, especially with that trine to Jupiter, where we can be helping take care of those who are in need, providing homes, security, and resources for others, and also be figuring out the financial way of being able to manage this as well. Some of the trines to Mercury retrograde is about budgeting and finance and things revolving around where maybe there's been some financial crime or where people are abusing systems. And Venus coming into the trine is saying that, hey, if you want the support, you have to be what? Working. Saturn is about being busy. It's about taking responsibility and not just kind of like leeching off the system. And the trine that we're seeing to Jupiter is everything that falls under home and housing, food stamps, EBT, anything revolving around that stuff as well. So there's going to be big decisions that are going to be put forth regarding if you want to get support, you have to be showing that you're at least working towards, being able to stabilize yourself. Because so much of Pisces is where we can get too comfortable and just kind of be lackadaisical about taking responsibility. So Saturn and Neptune is saying, hey, we're going to kind of shut that down. So out in the world, we may see this also manifest as landmark funding for psychedelic research or changes revolving around mental health. We might also see a huge focus on ocean conservation as well, because Pisces rules oceans. And spiritual organizations will either reform or collapse. And the same thing could also be said about spiritual organizations or religious organizations, so temples, churches, mosques, things like that. I also think that because Pisces deals with film, we're probably going to see some very interesting new movies that are coming out over the next couple of months that can be a combination of historical themes, religious themes, spiritual themes, stuff connected to secret societies, cults, that kind of stuff. And this Oscars season, we might find that there is a lot of films that are about grief or addiction or, maybe redemption sweep awards that are taking place. But watch for the new mental health infrastructure and policies and changes revolving around even health insurance. I think that's going to be a big theme. And definitely a regulation of wellness cults and fake gurus. We can see some exposés on people who are claiming to be able to help others when in reality, they're only helping themselves. We'll also see the rise of structured, ethical, mystery schools or metaphysical schools or teachers or training, and hopefully a blending of the mind, body, and spirit when it comes to approaching health matters. Now, here's what I think. I think that if we were to look at the combination of Saturn going direct and this most recent eclipse, Saturn is in Pisces. It's in a water sign. So this is a good time to be establishing like ritual baths. If you want to do that, you can do it on Saturn days. You can do it on Saturdays. A little bit of salt and some warm water and some essential oils can be great to really kind of wash away any of the blockages that we've been having. Maybe consider writing down everything that has kind of dissolved or fallen apart since 2023. And then, submerge that in water and let it kind of release. And you can even put like some like aquamarine, or you can put some quartz crystals or other things in there to kind of let it dissolve. And then remember and remind yourself that this is about really releasing this kind of victim mentality, or, I release the victim, I release the savior, I release the escape. So that way we're detaching from feeling like that has to be our fallback plan. We can also consider getting into a regular meditation practice. I've been saying that a lot for the last several years, but Pisces is about isolation. Saturn is about being a little bit more strict when it comes to our alone time. So whether that's, painting, going for a walk, meditating, any spiritual studies or religious studies, it's about staying consistent with that, and we'll be rewarded because we're upholding that kind of commitment to that faith-based practice. And I also think this is a really good time to be focusing on just what's coming full circle. And you're going to see that when Saturn is actually leaving Pisces at the beginning of 2026, it's leaving you with a solid foundation because Neptune's going to leave there as well. So watch for when Saturn goes direct. I mean, obviously I'm looking at this chart. We've got the moon that's going to be in Pisces on November 27th. And then it looks like on the 28th and 29th, the moon is going to cross the north node. It's going to cross Saturn, and it's going to cross Pisces. In recent years, when we've seen, the moon hitting these placements, it's been, media that's edited or manipulated, or I think a lot of it's been like psyop stuff, or, mass manipulation of things that we watch on TV or videos or scrolling through social media. I also think a lot of it has been trying to kind of keep people in the dark or being confused about what's going on in other countries. So when we see some of the manipulation with media like TikTok and other blackouts that we're seeing in parts of the world where we can't see what's going on, we might start to hear more information about that. There's likely going to be some really big weather or some like storm events that can be taking place as well. Flooding can be a theme, issues with dams, issues with coastal cities, coastlines. And obviously it's going to come into a trine with Jupiter. So it can really kind of indicate that we're having to keep an eye on areas where there could be torrential rain, there could be downpours, there could be issues with flooding, and people who could potentially be getting displaced. So keep an eye out for that. I wonder if there's going to be any kind of closure or anything regarding, what's happened here over the last couple of years where we saw tons of flooding going on in some of the southern states. We saw homes that were devastated with fires and lots of people who have been put out of their homes. Is there going to be some, more emotional, I think, support, but also physical or financial support for those who have potentially lost their home situations? I'm hoping. And I like the fact that there's going to be trines, but I feel like even with trines, energy flows, but you're dealing with some heavy hitting planets with Saturn, Jupiter, and also Venus. It means that, yes, there is going to be some big financial or emotional changes. Change is scary, but change is necessary. So I'm going to take you guys through the 12 rising signs. We're going to look at what it looks like for Saturn going direct. I'm going to remind you guys what houses Saturn rules and give you guys some tips and some insight as to what I think is going to be wrapping up. And you are going to have Saturn that's going to be in this sign only until the beginning of the year. So it looks like it's only going to be there until round about February of 2026. It's kind of weird. I'm saying that. Now I'm having to say that more with my forecast. But as of like February 13th, Saturn is going to be moving into Aries. So for right now, let's focus more on what's going on with Saturn going direct. I'll take you through the 12 rising signs. As for who this is going to be impacting the most, if you happen to be a Pisces sun, moon, or rising, obviously you're going to be feeling this pretty strongly, especially if you have anything around that 24 to 29 degrees, because this is where Saturn is stationing. Equally, if you have anything around 24 to 29 degrees of the mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, or Sagittarius, you're going to be feeling the effects of this as well. And those of you guys who are ruled by Saturn, so my Capricorn risings, my Aquarius risings, because Saturn is your ruler or your co-ruler, you're going to be feeling the effects. And it's almost like the lights are coming back on and you're going to feel like you have a little bit more personal power. Now, something I do talk about in my December horoscopes is that we see a whole slew of planets, Mars, the Sun, Venus, and eventually Mercury, that are going to be going through Sagittarius in December, coming into a square with Saturn. And that's basically trying to give us the teachers, the way showers, the people who are going to be encouraging us, pushing us to learn, evolve, and get out of our own way. So this is a really good time the next month or two. If you're wanting to start a course, if you're wanting to shift something about your personal beliefs, if you're wanting to explore the world, if you're wanting to get out of your own way or out of the house, you're going to have all of the energy necessary to get your shift in order. Also in mid-December, we're going to see that ingress into Capricorn season. So right at the end of Sagittarius season, it's the halfway point. These are the squares to the north and the south node from last fall's eclipses that we saw in Virgo and in Pisces. So we're going to feel quite a pinch here over the next month of needing to get out of our comfort zone, needing to get serious about our visions for the future, and thinking about the bigger picture and the bigger meaning of life. Now, I am a Western astrologer. That's kind of astrology I like to practice. I am going to be showing you guys this from the perspective of the whole rising signs. If you're a Placidus user, you just need to look at where 25 degrees of Pisces is in your chart. You may have to listen to more than one rising sign. I do recommend listening to your rising sign because that's going to show you exactly where you're wrapping up this Pisces lesson with Saturn. And then you can also listen to your sun sign and your moon sign. I would listen to all three personally because I feel like this has a lot of lunar connections. The moon might apply. It's got a lot of connections also with the rising sign because that's going to be quite literal. But the sun sign can be important because that's influencing your overall vitality, your joy, and maybe even your career. So let's start with my Aries and my Aries risings and discuss what this means for Saturn going direct in Pisces in your 12th house. Well, for you guys, obviously, this is looking at what's happened with the eclipses here over the last year. You've had a few of them. Also, Saturn is directly tied to your 10th house of career, your status, your responsibility, and your 11th house, which deals with your goals and your friendships. So as Saturn is going direct in your 12th house, this is combining the eclipses kind of themes of, dissolving your hidden fears, resting more, healing more, being behind the scenes. And what Saturn has been doing is recently, it gave you a bit of a break. It left your sign. It's been really helping you build your plans behind closed doors. And so that could mean you're planning to, change your career at work, or you're going in a different direction. Maybe you're working more in private. Maybe it means that you've been really focusing on your spiritual strength. So as it's going direct, your career and your long-term goals are now moving forward. They're now getting restructured. And if you've been feeling kind of delayed in some of these topics, now they're going to move forward in a more positive and a more permanent way. It also means that you have to believe that these things are possible for change. You have to probably really lean into self-reflection practices or anything revolving around healing or kind of isolation, getting more sleep. And it's obviously making some really nice trines to help improve your emotions and your home, as well as your finances or anything revolving around taxes or inheritance. So some Aries or Aries risings are dealing with family karma. You're dealing with foreign lands, having to be there, dealing with family who has ancestral ties or even property in a foreign land. And it's helping you really release yourself emotionally, but also release yourself of any responsibility when it comes to some of these heavy topics. So I hope it's a good one for you guys. Enjoy the rest while you have it. As we get into February, Saturn and Neptune enter into your sign, and obviously Pisces is going to be passing you the torch. All right, so for my Taurus and Taurus risings, you guys are experiencing Saturn going direct in your natal 11th house of Pisces. Off the bat, I can say what I like about this is at least it's in a sextile to Uranus in your sign. So the 11th house is really connected to obviously your friends, your groups, your goals, and your community. And Saturn traditionally rules your 10th house of work and responsibility, or your status, and your 9th house of teaching, publishing, legal matters, education, and travel. So with Saturn going direct in your natal 11th house, this is bringing up the themes of maybe realizing that there are certain people that need to leave your orbit, right? So some friends might feel like they've been eclipsed out of your life in recent years. Maybe you're leaving toxic groups. Maybe you're joining meditation groups or spiritual groups. Maybe there's a focus on building a business or collaborating with friends or like-minded people. So now Saturn here is going to give you a healthier sense of community, and also you're going to see that there's a rise for potential income because it's second to your 10th. I think that your spiritual teaching, or if you have like a soul, oriented business or an artistic business, can now start to gain momentum, and you can get more public recognition for your contribution to a group kind of setting. Your professional goals, your educational goals can also come online in a very strong way. That sextile to Uranus is helping you kind of feel more confident in taking some risks in your career and how you present yourself. It's also helping you improve how you communicate with others, including clients and relationships, and helping your words get out there and be seen, especially on the internet. But it can enhance communication and being more optimistic in communication, with family or even travel as well. All right, good luck, Taurus. Let me know how that goes. All right, so for my Gemini and Gemini risings, you guys are going to see Saturn going direct in Pisces in your natal 10th house, which deals with your career, your professional status, and your reputation. Now, if you happen to have anything 24 to 29 degrees of Gemini, you've been under a very rare and unusual Saturn square, which has probably been putting the pressure on you in your work zone. Now, Saturn can be about commitment, long hours, bosses, or just having confusion about what the future of your professional life looks like. It rules your 9th house of beliefs, travel, education, and legal matters, and your 8th house of joint finances, karmic entanglement, intimacy, and dealing with secrets. So as Saturn's going direct, for a lot of you guys, it's going to feel like there is this final push to really show up in your professional life, dissolve anything career-wise that doesn't really meet your goals or your standards. And it also is potentially really unmasking some of the things connected to your professional reputation. And Saturn's helping you rebuild that now. So it's helping you rebuild your career. It's helping you have more commitment or work better with bosses. It can also highlight investments or intimate partnerships and how they're kind of funding your bigger vision. Now, Saturn loves the 10th house. So I think when Saturn is leaving this house, you're going to have a little bit more clarity about where you're going professionally. I would just say a lot of this is about embracing change and being optimistic about really following your dreams and getting into something that feels like it's meant to be. Good luck, Gemini. For Cancer and Cancer rising, you guys are going to experience Saturn going direct in the sign of Pisces, a fellow sister water sign, in your 9th house. Now, the 9th house for you guys obviously deals with your belief system, higher education, travel, legal matters, publishing, and it's going to be, connected to your 8th house of joint finances or karmic entanglement, taxes, inheritances, and 7th house of relationships and partnerships. What's cool about Saturn going direct is that it will be in a trine to Jupiter in your sign. So through this kind of commitment to your vision, your beliefs, you can travel more freely, learn more freely, be more positive and optimistic, and really have some gains when it comes to education or health. Now, the other thing that I like that's kind of going on with this transit, and you're going to have to watch within a couple of days of the 25th, is that the moon is going to go through Saturn, and it's going to conjunct Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So that can lead to, for some of you guys, meeting with mentors, teachers, gurus, getting married, graduating, traveling. And I think in recent months, we've seen those eclipses, kind of dissolve your old beliefs. And now Saturn is really helping you lock into a new philosophy, and it can help you really mature partnerships, and it can carry the wisdom that you have kind of earned forward into potentially some big changes next year when it comes to your career. Good luck, Pisces. Excuse me, Cancer. Good luck, Cancer. Sorry, I'm looking at all that Pisces in the sky. We've got Leo and Leo rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Saturn going direct in Pisces in your natal 8th house, which is the house of secrets, karmas, things that are hidden, subconscious, taxes, death, inheritances, psychological themes. And Saturn is tied to relationships and partnerships or clients, and the 6th house of work, health, and habits. So obviously for you guys, this is a house that's kind of in the shadow, right? We can't really see too well in the 8th house, and it's a sign that inconjuncts you. Very emotional, very watery, complete opposite of your energy as a Leo or a Leo rising. So what you're going to find is that, in recent years, the eclipses have kind of ended toxic merging, and that could be emotionally, sexually, financially. And now Saturn is coming online, and it's teaching you about safe intimacy, vulnerability, relationships that are healthier, that are kind of better balanced. And it's also highlighting health routines and relationship boundaries for many of you guys that are finally going to stick. There could be breakthroughs in therapy, and money that has been, kind of held up and coming your way can now finally start to flow. Good luck, Leo. For my Virgo and Virgo risings, you guys are about to have Saturn go direct in your opposite sign of Pisces in your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and also, business relationships, clients. Obviously for you guys, this is big, especially if you have anything 24 to 29 degrees of Virgo, sun, moon, or rising. You've had eclipses in opposition to your placements in the 7th house, highlighting relationships. The North Node's been bringing in destined people. Saturn's been there, which has felt like it's maybe been difficult to deal with relationships, or there's been a lack of relationship. Neptune's been confusing, and it's certainly been testing your boundaries in your one-on-one dynamics with others. Now, I think with Saturn being connected to your 6th house of daily routine and habits, and your 5th house, which deals with creativity, self-expression, dating, Saturn going direct for a lot of you guys, I think could actually be quite positive. Now, maybe in recent years, the eclipses here have ended codependent bonds. Maybe you have said goodbye to certain people and you're planning on making space for somebody new. But Saturn can certainly bring more maturity to partnerships. It can bring a healthy breakup if it's been a long time coming. It's also going to give you creative discipline now that's really going to be, I think, birthing long-lasting joy. And relationships that, survive these transits really have survived Saturn's test, and now you can proceed forward and really start focusing on future plans. And I think destined things are going to be happening in relationships for you guys over the better part of the next couple of weeks. So I'm curious to hear how that's manifesting for my Virgo and my Virgo risings, especially with Mercury trine. Important in-depth conversations and gaining clarity and traveling and connecting with people, or relationships with siblings, or even therapy can help you have a big breakthrough about who you're supposed to be with. Good luck. For my Libras and Libra risings, you guys are experiencing Saturn going direct in Pisces in your natal 6th house of health, habits, and routine, pets, and also your office space. Now, Saturn deals with your 5th house of creativity, children, romance, and self-employment, self-expression. It's also connected to your 4th house of home, family, roots, and emotions, or the past. So for Libra, I kind of feel like, as a Libra rising, the eclipses for me have really dissolved or really highlighted where there's been some unhealthy habits or unhealthy routines. And whether that's how you're keeping your office, whether or not you're working out, if you're slacking on the mental health care. And Saturn is now going direct, so it's going to be really focusing on giving you lasting daily structure. This is about home life and creative expression, finally feeling safe, getting your home in order, taking care of the kids, taking care of the pets. And I think a lot of it's been about committing to daily rituals that are non-negotiables to help you kind of keep your head on straight and also feel healthier and more productive. So if you've been trying to heal something, if you've been trying to get back to work, if you've been trying to get back to the gym or get organized, now you can do so. Good luck, Libra. For my Scorpios and Scorpio risings, you guys are about to see Saturn go direct in the sign of Pisces in your natal 5th house and a fellow sister water sign. Now, the 5th house obviously deals with creativity. It's about dating, it's about kids, self-expression, having fun, creative projects, and self-fulfillment. And Saturn is tied to your home and your family. It's also tied to your 3rd house of communications, short journeys, siblings, and vehicles. So with Saturn going direct in a fellow sister water sign, also in a trine to Mercury, the mind, and Venus, the values, in your 1st house, it means you're starting to finally recognize or realize what's going to make you happy, how you can be most creative, how you can find fulfillment, maybe having breakthroughs in romantic relationships with children or involving your children, and also finally seeing some creative projects start to flow again. Now, Scorpio, I think that the recent eclipses have maybe dissolved, or it's felt like it's blocked joy or maybe even relationships. But Saturn turning direct is going to heal your creativity and help you turn it into a legacy. I think your voice and your family roots are now going to be kind of carrying over to some new chapters when it comes to how you support yourself and also how you're living. I hope it's a good one for you, Scorpio. Let me know what happens. For Sag and Sag rising, you guys are going to experience Saturn going direct in Pisces in your natal 4th house of home, family, property, and roots. If you happen to have anything 24 to 29 degrees of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, you've been under a very rare and unusual Saturn square. Obviously, it's been pretty heavy in the 4th house. Saturn does rule your money and resources, as well as communication, moves, travel, the mind, and siblings. And you are in the thick of it in Sagittarius season, where all these planets are moving through your sign, coming into a square with Saturn, where you're finally able to move or resolve blocked emotions or family karma. Now, I think in recent years, the eclipses have been really highlighting where there's been a lot of home problems. I've seen clients that have had flooding issues, or they've had elderly relatives going through issues or health problems. A lot of, I think, emotional hangups also with the past. And now that Saturn's going direct, Saturn can help you build your forever emotional home. So now money and self-worth can really fund the sanctuary that you deserve. So if there's been some money blockages, if there's been some delays with home or family, now it looks like you can push through that. And for some of you guys, it might mean selling a home, buying a home. It might also mean that you're realizing what you truly value, what you need the most, and what you're willing to let go of. Sag, this is your season. Let me know what happens. I hope it's a good transit for you. Now for my Capricorns and Capricorn risings, hooray! Your chart ruler Saturn is coming back online in Pisces in your natal 3rd house. And that means that because Saturn rules you, your action, your body, your appearance, and your resources, your values, and your financial strength, now you can feel more optimistic, less blocked, more willing to communicate, and maybe even learn or travel with Saturn going direct in your 3rd house. Now, Pisces is also friendly energy to Capricorn. It's sextiles Capricorn. So if you have anything, I would say 24 to 29 degrees of Capricorn, it's really helping you, I think, kind of get down to business and feel a little bit more committed, especially in a mental sense. And I think in previous years, the eclipses have really dissolved old stories in how you used to communicate, how you used to think, definitely changes with your siblings or your communities. And if you have been feeling limited in communication, now Saturn is going to make your voice heard. So you can move forward with blogging, with writing, even with moving or making vehicle changes. Likely you'll find that your identity and your finances are going to be now rooted in wisdom and not scarcity mindset. I bet it's going to be a great one for you guys. Obviously, buckle up, get ready, because if you're a Capricorn rising, your chart ruler is going into Aries next year, and it's going to start squaring your ascendant. So this is about making some big decisions about where you want to live, where you're traveling, communicating and making some choices revolving around where you're planning on being next year. Let me know what happens, Capricorn. I hope it's a good one for you guys. I will chat with you soon. And for my Aquarius and Aquarius risings, you guys are going to have Saturn going direct in Pisces in your natal 2nd house of money, resources, and self-esteem. Now, Saturn is your traditional ruler, so this is going to impact you. Obviously, with Saturn being connected to your 1st house of self, body, and identity, and your 12th house of what's unseen, what's hidden, and what's behind the scenes, it's a fusion of those two things coming up in your house of income. Now, I think in recent years, you have seen with eclipses going through Pisces that it's dissolved, some financial, security systems. Maybe, money that you thought you had in the bank has kind of slipped away. Maybe your confidence has kind of dwindled. Maybe there has been some subconscious fears coming up revolving around security or money. And I think Saturn going direct is now going to prove that you deserve abundance. So if there's been money that's been held back, or if there's been delays in resources, now you start to see it trickle in, and hidden work can manifest as real money and worth. So maybe you've been working really hard behind the scenes, you haven't really seen a lot going on. Now you're going to start to see that kind of open up. It's also now coming into a slight sextile with Uranus in your 4th house of home and family. So it can help you navigate some necessary changes going on the home front. It's trining Jupiter, so it's good for health and organization. It's also trining Venus and Mercury in your 10th house, so that's going to be good for negotiating financial dealings at work. And I feel like for many of you guys, you're going to feel, if you have obviously good health, and if you're on schedule, or if you're employed or you're on your tasks, you're going to feel a lot better about your financial situation. It's about really believing in yourself, investing in yourself, and really feeling confident because you've learned that you're only going to get paid as much as you feel that you're worth. And it's also about moving out of scarcity mindset. Good luck. And for my Pisces and Pisces risings, I feel like you guys should take a bow because this is the grand finale. You've got a couple months here before Saturn leaves your sign forever, or at least for 29 years. And goes into Aries. But for right now, Saturn is waking up and going direct in your sign, in your first house. So 24 to 29 degrees of Pisces, you guys are going through this once in a 29-year Saturn transit. Saturn deals with your 11th house of friends, networking, and goals, and also your 12th house of subconscious healing, anything connecting to self-undoing, behind the scenes kind of spiritual work and meditative thoughts. And as it goes direct in your first house, this is about you showing up for yourself. That's what this is about. Saturn is now kind of reaching this culmination point where now you're at your wisest phase. You know, you can stand on 2 feet. You don't have to be afraid of going your own way. You don't have to feel like you're abandoned or that you're not going to have support. You're seeing exactly how strong, how wise you are, and how committed you are to your goals. Likely in previous years, you know, the eclipses have really kind of cracked out the old you, and it's kind of removed all of that and peeled back those layers. And Saturn's been helping you kind of like rebirth a new identity that's more aligned with your destiny, your goals, and also the right people in your social groups. So now you can move forward, obviously a couple of months before it leaves your sign. It will be meeting with Neptune, which is your co-ruler, in February, and it's going to be all about investing in yourself and your finances. But for right now, you just need a clear vision and you need to commit to yourself. I hope it's a good one. Would love to hear your guys' stories as well, because I feel like this whole next month is definitely a test, a stress test to see how much you can endure and how hard you're willing to work for your goals. All right, guys, well, there you have it. A short but sweet video on Saturn going direct. Obviously, you know, Saturn is doing what it needs to do to kind of give us his one last hurrah. I look at this and I'm like, man, we survived, you know, the dissolution. Now we can really focus on building that masterpiece and leaving something long lasting that's going to be really spiritually, but also emotionally valuable. And focus on those boundaries, guys. Would love to hear your stories, especially whenever a planet goes direct, the days revolving around that. We usually see some pretty significant things happening in the world that are Saturn or Pisces related in this case, but also in our own life. So be great to hear from you guys. Leave a comment below and let me know, what has Saturn taught you? What are you appreciative of? And what is now flowing forward? Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I will be back with you guys on next Friday. So just a reminder, we're not having a live on Friday because of the holiday. So I'll be doing live Astro next week. I'll be here on Sunday, so we're going to do a Sunday Astro weather. And if you guys have not checked out my Black Friday specials, check them out. So I've got specials that are running only until December the 5th. All my courses are on sale. The calendars are offering an extra 6 months for free. We're doing $5 off my digital calendars that are personalized. And my Astro 301 signups are available. We have the classes starting at the end of January. Only a couple of days for you guys to get in on those specials. And we're offering $200 off if you guys want to learn advanced astrology techniques with me. So if you want to see all of my specials, click the links below and head over to beyondtheveiltarot.com. Sign up for my newsletter. And obviously, those of you guys who are celebrating the holiday here in the States for Thanksgiving, I hope you guys are having an amazing holiday with you and your friends and your family. I hope you guys are eating all the snacks and having a good time and enjoying your day off. And I'll see you back here soon. Until next time, take care.